conquering the theocratic gods, atmospheres. Every place we occupy is an atmosphere or spiritual realm. Water, tar, sand, mud, gas, or even a vacuum could be considered atmospheres. A hyperbaric chamber has an oxygenated atmosphere. We can introduce negative ions to the air and change the electric field charges within it. Cultures and communities are made up of atmospheres of happiness or anguish. The physical walls that make up the borders are but man-made limits in a universal experience and can be altered by the thoughts and actions of the individuals that make up their intertwining relations existing there. All societies are spiritual areas of expression, and the laws, edicts that are pronounced upon the public in any given area are only variables subject to change by the citizens of any given location. You can change the atmosphere of where you are. We are electromagnetic generators. We are thought carriers. We are particle interferers that affect the totality of the creation with our interpretations and decisions. Our spirit, souls, and minds, our patterns, our expressions of unique identity. The world of conscious entities are a collaboration of many frameworks of interpretation and projections. We share like thoughts and opposed thoughts in a free-for-all forum of interacting warfare places. Opposition is the force we must overcome in ourselves in our daily lives. Once we conquer our own deficiencies, we are able to help others that wallow in the very mire that we came out of. This is the case in drug rehabilitation. I'm human. I was shaving. I cut myself. Anyway, I want you to watch this film on transhumanism in the attempt to go into a utopian society based on man's very fallen state. It's not going to be the answer to all our problems. I do believe in helping and changing the world. And we can do that one by one, but love is the answer, and it always will be, to every single question. God loves you. I hope you enjoy the show today.
It's all about the parts, and everyone wants them. Whether it's from the latest in designer brands, or whatever you can afford. This is what's in, and this trend is here to stay. I mean, let's face it, no one wants to be like them, entirely organic. No one wants to get sick and old and die. My only choice was to enhance, even if it meant stealing that prototype.
This chip is going to revolutionize the world in so many ways.
How was I supposed to know the damn thing was classified? Now the whole world was after me. The feds, G-Corp, even the Reapers could smell something special inside me. So now I'm in Bangkok. Figured it was my best option. Unfortunately, being here wasn't enough. I was still being followed. I needed to blend in, disappear. So I headed to the nearest street market I could find. You can get anything you want here. From the tuk-tuk driver selling yum-yum chemical massage, to the latest and greatest in virtual drug programs, robot helpers, holographic suit emitters. You name it, they had it.
left. All of it. The entertainment media, politicians, Hollywood studio liberals, screenwriters, actors, college professors and administrators, NGOs, social justice warriors, liberal philanthropists, nutty philosophers, the news media, warped sociologists, man-caused climate change cheerleaders, music industry executives, mind-rot authors, atheist scientists, you name it, the whole lot of them, and anyone else who would fit under the anti-God umbrella. They collectively comprise the Luciferian left, and that is to say, the ruling elites of the culture who reject God and morality and seek to destroy any vestige of decency left in society. It has taken them a couple of generations, but they have managed to accomplish just about everything on their bucket list that you could imagine. In just the space of my lifetime, we have accepted no-fault divorce, contraception, abortion, shattered families, single parenthood, test tube babies, designer babies, surrogacy motherhood, open sexuality, instant access pornography, the corruption of higher education, same-sex marriage, a giant welfare state, the destruction of the middle class, crippling debt, a no one is accountable approach. Yet, everyone goes to heaven. There is no hell. Most people respond that they are basically good people. Yet, this is how evil operates. It commits heinous acts. It hypocritically goes after others doing the same things, usually less, and takes the moral high ground all the while it lies, deceives, it covers up, it bullies, it threatens, it extorts, it kills. Then it denies, looks the other way, feigns ignorance, and when it can no longer deny it, feigns shock, disbelief. It is appalled.
I was just sick. I was shocked. I was appalled.
This whole Luciferian leftist mentality has more than crept into the church. Think about the gay priest sex abuse cases where psychologically disturbed men were accepted into the seminary and then proceeded to rape teenage boys by the thousands. What did leaders do? They promoted them, protected them, lied about them, covered for them, looked the other way, pleaded ignorance, then when finally caught and trapped, pretended they were ignorant and not vigilant enough. And now, these same men are sitting atop the largest meltdown of the church in world history, liquidating the patrimony of millions of immigrants, allowing liars in collars and miters to pervert the faith, corrupt young minds, destroy the liturgy, keep silent on the greatest Holocaust in the history of humanity, advance sodomy as a gift from God, convert the church into a giant social justice agency, and so on. They promote much of the same anti-God agenda as does the Luciferian left. Man-centered climate change, world peace, destabilization of countries in the name of fighting poverty, backing the distribution of population control programs with government funds, saying, well, we have to work with those people. Where exactly is the line between these two worlds again? You want to remind us? Evil is evil whether it wears a swastika or a hammer and sickle or hides behind a hypocritical do-good cultural agenda or dresses up in church robes to destroy that same church from within by teaming up with the evil agents in the name of good. Can you imagine for just a moment, what the last day is going to look like? Dear God, all the sins and crimes against God and man all seen together at the same time and the same place for the entire human race, and then the final judgment. All this evil, intended evil, the plotted overthrow of good, the perversion of truth, the trillions and trillions upon trillions of mortal sins committed by tens of billions of humans, many of whom worked tirelessly to normalize and establish these evils as actual goods.
The latest breakthroughs. Turns out one of the biggest discoveries is actually this tiny. See how small that is? This little chip may be the next big thing, and it sounds like it's right from a sci-fi movie, but people all over the world are implanting these into their wrists. So I asked my producer, Dean, to find out more about this cutting-edge technology and what it could mean for your health.
Whether it's our smartphones, our watches, our fitness trackers, or our Bluetooth headphones, it's clear that technology is not just part of our lives, it's running them. It's how we buy things, watch things, how we date, stay safe, even how we travel. Paul? Cool. We're so attracted to our devices that they're basically becoming a part of our bodies. But what if they really could become a part of our bodies? Well, guess what? They can. Meet the RFID microchip. This tiny chip, which can be implanted into your wrist, yes, I did say wrist, uses short-range radio frequency identification, similar to the tech used to track your pets or your phone. Once implanted in your body, it could identify you as you pass through the airport, open the door to your home. It could even be used to buy groceries at the supermarket. Now, your driver's license, passport, keys, and wallet are all inside your body, contained in something the size of a grain of rice. I know it might sound like sci-fi, but it's not. 10,000 people have already been chipped, and the number is growing. The possibilities are limitless, especially when it comes to your health. Imagine you're rushed to the hospital without any identification, but with just one scan of your chip, doctors know your name, date of birth, medical history, insurance, blood type, allergies, even the medication you're taking. This chip in your wrist won't just change your life, one day it might just save it. And that's why this little RFID microchip is the next big thing.
But where we're headed, and let me tell you, 1 minute, is these devices are now capable of actually recording dreams, but not in a very granular way. In a very primitive way, they can actually capture and identify what a person is dreaming. That is just the beginning of where we are headed. Right now, scientists in laboratories around the world are developing brain chips. Now, these are chips that can be inserted into the brain, and they are wireless. And let me show you. They have actually had a monkey that broke its back. So its spinal cord was severed. The monkey was paralyzed from the waist down. But they inserted a chip in the monkey's brain, and then they inserted another chip in its lower spine. And they allowed the brain to communicate with the lower spine. As soon as they did this, the monkey could walk again. That is amazing. Totally amazing. So they could actually transmit the thoughts of the monkey wirelessly to parts of the body. But it gets even more amazing than that. So they now have, in a laboratory, monkeys with chips in their brain. And then they have an electric wheelchair. And just by thinking, just with the thought of the monkey, they can drive the wheelchair around. Think about that. If a monkey can do that, what could you do if you had that chip in your brain? They have also done experiments with monkeys with a chip in their brain and a robotic arm. And the monkey, just by thinking, can reach out and grab something like food and feed itself. That is amazing if you think about it. So the monkey's thoughts are actually able to control things outside their body. So when we start to think about the future, about where technology is headed, this is where we're going. We will have brain chips in humans. And the people who will get those brain chips first are people who suffer from severe medical conditions. So if you have a severe medical condition, like you're paralyzed from the neck down, or you suffer a brain disorder like Alzheimer's disease or Parkinson's disease, and that brain chip can restore your quality of life, would you hesitate to get the chip? No, of course not. You would say, put the chip in my brain. So that is starting right now, these experiments. And even more interesting, scientists have done experiments with rats, and they have chips in the rat's brain. And what they did was they taught a rat how to do certain things. And when the rat did all these complex things, it could get food. Now, it took the rat weeks to learn that. Weeks. But then they hooked the rat's brain chip to the internet. And they had another rat in another city. And instantly they connected those two rats' brains. And do you know what happened? The other rat knew how to get the food right away. It didn't have to learn anything. The knowledge was transferred from one brain of a living animal to another brain. That is amazing. That opens up a world of possibilities, because if they can do that in rats today, imagine 10 years from now what they can do in humans. And we will go there. So, mind-to-mind communication. This is something of science fiction that we all read about. But this is actually possible today, as I just showed you. So there will come a point where if we have a chip in our brain, and you out there have a chip in your brain, we can communicate. We can communicate without talking. We can communicate when you're halfway around the world. And we can exchange knowledge. So, if you look at a world where we have these chips that are connected to the internet, all of a sudden, every piece of information on the internet becomes accessible to our minds. Now, when we look back at today and we have to go to Baidu or Google and type it in, that will seem so primitive. Nobody will do that. You will just think, what knowledge do I need? And it will appear there for you to use. But it gets even weirder, stranger. Because we will not only be able to transfer knowledge, but we will be able to transfer memories. Now, so you could have an experience like skydiving, and all of a sudden you could transfer that experience to a friend, and all of a sudden they have experienced what you have experienced. It gets even weirder, because we will be living our lives as our lives. We know our lives and our memories, but you will all of a sudden have access to anybody's life who wants to make it available to you. People will open source their lives so others can download pieces of their lives and experience those things. That will be really strange. We won't know the difference between our own memory and a memory we acquired from someone else. Think about that. It gets even stranger. So, all of us are here learning at Siebes, right? Getting EMBAs and MBAs. Well, this will be obsolete, because Siebes will literally be in the cloud. And you will just download from all the best minds in the world whatever you need to know when you need to know it. Our brains we will no longer have universities as we have them today. That will change. Information will be on demand. Information will be commoditized. Knowledge will be commoditized. All of us will be smarter, have infinite amounts of storage, and infinite access to information. It will be unheard of. We will no longer be this isolated human being. We will be connected to everything. So, you can imagine, not only will we be able to get knowledge, but we can actually have full experiences in our head. So right now we have these clunky VR units that we have to put on. But in the future, you can just download a whole environment and actually live in it. And all of you might think, this is not real. But do you know, every night when you dream, those dreams are real. No matter how fantastic your dreams are, they are real. You feel like you're really there. Our brains have that capability already built in. All it takes is the technology to stimulate and transfer the right images in our brain, so our brain creates them, and then we will live like the difference between us dreaming and reality will be blurred. We will be spending a lot of time outside our bodies. So, think about this. You, as a human being right now, are trapped in this body. But once you are connected to the internet, you are no longer trapped in your body. You can actually be anywhere at any time that any other person or any other device is getting sensory information. So there could be a robot on Mars, and you could literally tap into the robot on Mars, and it would be like you're on Mars. It could totally recreate the experience, including the sensations, the physical sensations, like everything of you being on Mars. You can live through other people, your favorite pop star, your favorite scientist. You could be in Elon Musk's head right now, walking around doing what he's doing, if Elon Musk allowed you to do that. It gets so strange because our senses now, we have our 5 senses of our body. But suddenly, if we are connected to a world of intelligent machines and intelligent sensors all over, we will no longer have 5 senses. We will have access to hundreds of sensory input, infrared, right? All these UV, all these different types of senses that we never even experienced before. It will radically change how we perceive existence. So if you start to go down this path, you see, we won't even be, our life today will be totally alien to us. We will be living in a whole nother reality that is blending information, sensory information, data information, memories, all of this from all around the world in this vast internet. And that will and can happen. So let's go even further. Experiencing other lives. So all of us experience things in our life. But now we will be able to have many lives. You can have many lives because you can access other people in other places and live through them. And if you want to think about this, it can be almost like heaven. Why do I say this? Because if you study every major religion in the world, every religion, Buddhism, Christianity, Hinduism, what those religions promise us is that we will escape our bodies in the future. We will go to some heaven or nirvana or a state of non-being or a state of inclusiveness with everybody. No longer will we and our consciousness be confined to our bodies as an individual. In fact, if you look at us right now as a human being, if I feel pain, if I'm in pain, nobody else can feel the pain I feel. If you're in pain, I can't feel your pain. I can feel sorry for you. I can empathize with you, but I cannot feel your pain. But in this world, we will actually be able to feel the emotions of other people. You can actually not just transfer data and sensory information, but emotions. I would know your pain, you would know our pain, and human beings would never be alone. So, we will come to a point where we, as gods, like gods, will be creating our own reality. We will be redefining what the human experience is for the first time in history. This can happen, and it will happen, but what we want to think about is this. Technology is really powerful. The internet, being connected, is really powerful, but we've already seen in a very primitive way, just with our cell phones, these primitive devices, how it can totally change our life. Like all of our lives are changed by WeChat. All of our lives are changed by the internet. Well, we are embarking on a path now where we will become the internet. The internet will become us. They will be inseparable. We'll have our storage and everything else all over the place. And when we do that, we have to understand that this is a big responsibility. It's something we as a society, we as the human race, must think about very, very carefully. Because imagine, people can hack your cell phone now. People can hack your computer, and it can be bad. They can steal your banking information, take all your money. They can steal your identity, but they can't really hurt you. In the future, though, if somebody hacks into your head because it's connected to the internet, they can steal you. They could actually steal you. They can implant implant memories in your head that you don't have. They could erase memories. They could control you in ways that you wouldn't even know you're being controlled. Is this scary? So I painted on the hand a heaven, but there is also a hell, right? This is heaven and hell. We are on the cusp of this technology that is so powerful and has the potential to so radically transform our lives and our existence, and we have to be very careful about how we do this. We don't want people controlling us. So think about this. Think very carefully. Everybody in this room are very smart people. You're all highly educated. We are going to be making these decisions that lay the groundwork for this technology in our lifetime. And those decisions will affect the rest of humanity more than any decisions we have made in the past.
I needed a new look. It was the only thing I could think of to shake him off my tail. Replacing my eyes was the easy part. My skin, not so much. Once the painkillers kicked in, I arranged to meet an old acquaintance of mine. If anybody could get me the new body signature I was looking for, it was definitely X. He insisted on meeting me in a crap hotel in the heart of the red light district. Mr. Foreign Man was passing through, and their eyes burned holes in my pocket. The working enhanced knew how to sell. They could be anything you wanted. Girl, boy, lady boy. I figured I should get off the streets, so I brought Plexi to the hotel room as I waited for X. If my compadre doesn't hurry his ass up, they'll light me up and cut this chip right out of me. Great timing, X. Looks like you just sealed my fate. I was gonna be dead in a matter of seconds. This version of me is, anyway. After all, I am one of them now. The unreal. And being unreal, I guess, does have its perks.
From the day you enhanced, your memories have been storing themselves secretly inside you. Our services consist of backing up those memories for safekeeping. If something were to happen to your physical self, we would simply implant your memories into a new you. That is why it is crucial to sign up for our daily backup program, so you never lose a moment of your life. Strive to live forever, and join the millions of augmented people who have taken this step. You know what to do, Kay. Just click the button below, and all of your fears about death will never haunt you again.
Tim, take him down.
So this will be going into many other countries. By other companies, by you, by
no, we only operate in the US, and our goal is to basically, we want the US to lead 5G because of the speed, because of job creation.
You will if you can get your permits.
Absolutely.
China has much less trouble getting permits, okay?
Central government. Thank you, Matt. Great to see you. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon. My name is Ellen Marks. I'm director of the California Brain Tumor Association. Few that spoke in support of this know the science, know the victims like I do. We focus on prevention of primary brain tumors, which are sadly dramatically increasing in young people with ubiquitous use of cell phones and an increase in cellular facilities. There are thousands of independent, not industry funded, but independent studies showing a correlation between cellular radiation from towers and serious health effects, including cancer, neurological damage, and a lot of different things.
Knowledge is a good thing and becomes wisdom when it is applied to our lives as a catalyst for change. Everyone is looking for a way out and up. Relinquish your shackles. Release your anxieties. Peace that passes understanding exists in the hope land of Yeshua, the King of the universe. The Word manifest in all creation perpetuates our, so to speak, reality. The holographic projection that we consider the ultimate truth eludes our detection of it and leaves us in a lesson learning mode as we peer into the fabric of the images all the way into the subatomic level where points of emanation create interacting angular ripples in the time crystal ocean that was discovered in several laboratories in 2012. The modulations maintained in the substance of the ocean creates the 3D forms as they are congregated into reflective spectral relationships that we perceive as earth images. Yet, Yahweh can remove the illusion at any time he chooses, since he is the author and composer of all thought images. Even before the world began, we were in the mind of God. Even before the thought forms where we share our overlapping spiritual environments that are individualistic and collective, thought image agreements are very powerful. Yes, they're powerful. When we as people choose a course together, we protest and resist the motions placed upon us by others. So I say to you, resist complacency, resist apathy, resist subjugation, resist evil, perpetuate good in the short amount of time allotted to you, and you will find joy on the other side of the veil. This is a place where thought is just as solid as what we call matter. Thought is the predecessor of action. Dreams are formed into 3D forms after calculating, drafting, then implementation and fabrication occurs. The degree of what we create seems unlimited. Our God is unlimited, and we are children of God. Remember, love is the answer to all things. Light is a basic component of all matter, or could it just be an expression of that which is deeper and more universally present? The swirling vortexes that make up the 3D combinations are merely streams of dreams. Societies share the images that identify them as a group. They glorify, edify, exalt many people, and even animated characters as if they were superior to us. Each of us has an intrinsic value, much greater than the images we see projected all around us. Now tell me, when was the last time you personally talked to Lion King or Mickey Mouse? They're animated characters, but we treat them like they're real. I mean, try. Go ahead. Call up Lion King on the phone. It will never happen. We act like these characters could easily communicate with us in a realm of the future. Robotic representations of humanity will be norm. We will be talking to metal and plastic form robots as if they were human. The soul of man is the prize of great value. That is why there's so much turmoil and deception all around us. So many imaginary individuals are being projected into our minds with storylines and moral identities. Who do you emulate? Batman, Superman, or other fantasized entities that are all fed to us as if we were anxious receptors standing in line for the next psychic delivery of nonsense? A group of recipients wait for the next version of corruptions and become slaves to the prologues and monologues incorporated into the scripts. Many times, it is unclear who is the good guy and who is the bad guy. We are lured into the code journey through their episodes like willing slaves in a matrix of illusory personalities that portray superhuman traits and attributes. While all the time, there are real people doing incredible feats that we ignore for the most part and occasionally reveal as material for our next true story edition. I find human spirit to be much more enduring than the faked, fabricated, immoral roles pronounced upon us by the media monsters. Yes, we are emotion junkies, looking for our next fix, while we ignore the true treasures surrounding us in our families by hiding in phones and laptops and for some supposed comfort to find ourselves empty and rejected due to the lack of spiritual presence that we were created to dwell in. We have validity in whatever we house in the recesses of our souls. We pretend the make-believe characters are real and force our children to digest the foolishness if it was a factor that should be part of our lives. What we identify with is what we become. I write songs about perpetual love, esoteric righteousness, and many themes dealing with pain, hope, and faithfulness. The world has been brain and thought washed, conditioned, duped, deceived, conjured, deluded, corrupted by media monsters, and we eat it like hungry children at a pizza parlor. Occasionally, we wake up from our sleep. Oh, and we find that there are waiting arms. Our Creator, He comforts us and mends the scars and woes of these that we are time suit warriors. Wearers. Time suit warriors would be nice. Imagination is a place where the waters of thought forms meet. The individual and collective create a society of agreed upon precepts and concepts wherever you go upon the flat earth plane. In these cultural groups, highlighted images take precedence over other images and concepts, creating a closed, specialized set of standards and accepted thought image frameworks are the only things that the members of the club participate in. Socialization is the latest version of removing the uniqueness of the individual. The empty soul perpetrators of these actions are but momentary wisps in the wind. And even if they could live long ages, they would still be taken out and judged. It's in the book of Revelation. They'll want to die. They won't be able to die. They'll get sores on their bodies. Yeah, they might be able to be transhumanistic for a while, but you have to have a soul to go to heaven. Without a soul, you don't go. That's what the mark is. That's what this age of transhumanism will take us into. Deny it, reject it. It's not for you. All the grandeur, all of it, of the world cannot be compared to a content soul. And this is truly what we should seek. Removing the layers of projected illusions is an arduous process as we amble through the menagerie of thought image forms and delight in the diversity, yet the structures are many times prisons for our souls. That we see these things in the world is much larger than life, but they have no life. They're devoid of any true life. Only humans with souls have life. So that's where we begin. What is life? Life is the collection of accepted images. After all, it is nothing but images. We live like robotical theological mannequins following the roots of our programmers. Our daily movements are a reflection of the stored images we accept as our reality, and we share them with each other in the hope that there will be a commingling of intensification by our participation in them as we bathe in togetherness for a fleeting moment and experience a synthesized kinship that gives us a feeling of belonging. Society. The images of your society. The variations are many, and the outcome determined by the acceptance or the rejection of the interactor's display of passion or lack. Oh, I believe in this. Oh, I believe in that. Oh, I'm strongly believing in this. I'm strongly believing in that. Each of us talk, interject, deflect, and relate to things we think and feel are relevant. The offspring of our expressions are communication or rejection. And so it is with the Creator himself. All images, thought forms, propelled intentions, promotional expressions, and agenda positions will be dissolved. No more many gods, no more superhero idolatry, no more exalted individuals. It will all fade in the light of God's presence as the atmosphere changes from darkness into light when Yeshua returns. The world will change from illusion to truth and from captivity to freedom. We wait for this transition. We long for pure love. And that's what it's all about. It's all about loving others, but first you got to know. Redemption. Redemption. Redemption is important. It's a stream that flows. It's a stream of goodness. It comes directly from the throne of grace that is only known to those who are brave enough to enter the zone of eternity that resides in the hearts of the faithful. We contend with the world, but pray to stay steadfast in our footing as we cling to the rock of our salvation. All roads lead home. And some will enter, and some will be blocked from the domain of the one who died to retrieve us from the clutches of the enemy of our souls. We create and transmit images. Heaven is for real. No contrived lies of utopian earth settings can replace the reality of God's kingdom. Transhumanism, they're still in a hologram. You're still in a location of particles that were created, and they are sustained by the Creator. It's not a reality. It's not a substance. It's only a place of illusion. Don't buy the lie. If you were to live for centuries in a transhumanistic realm, you'd still be minus reality. Accept the mercy that flows from the throne of grace. The purchase ticket to the festival of glory was paid for by the suffering Savior upon a torture stake of grievous pain and agony. How can we turn away from such abundant love? We were created to experience the beauty of heaven. We were made to dwell in the merciful kingdom. We were fearfully and wonderfully made to be expressions of the eternal supreme ruler of destinies. We are the handiwork of the warden of the prison. Only he holds the keys of hell and death, and he can set the captive free. Only he has the capacity to liberate the imprisoned hearts and replace the inner workings of our being. Only he has the blood that cleanses a filthy sinner and replicates himself in the newborn soul. We stand in complete exasperation in our attempts at reaching the golden throne. Our majestic master can loose the shackles of this fake world dilemma. We must hearken to his voice and let the layers of the hardness be washed away in his overwhelming love. I want to be uncluttered and unfettered. This is my final statement. Hi, Stephen. As far as this particular edition of our publication, visually in California, on our shows, I want everybody to know that God, loves you. I want you to know that you have salvation in Yeshua, Jesus, the Messiah. I want you to know, no matter how much you fix up the broken down car, it's still a car. It's not the divine identity that you were destined to have in heaven. Car suit, time suit, whatever you want to call these rags that we wear. You can get a souped up version and put all kinds of little nanotechnology in it, but that isn't going to get you anywhere. All it will do is confuse you. Your mind will be taken over. Your soul will be taken over. And God will have to determine how much value you have. And he will wipe out those who take the implant technology. The enhancing? I don't think so. I wouldn't call it enhancing. Dancing with the devil. Do not take the amplified, enhancing technology into your precious soul suit. It is an earth suit, it is a time suit, and in this dimension it's disposable. But in his dimension, he considers you precious enough to come and rescue from the clutches of the enemy. The enemy is a deceiver, and all he can use is deceptions, and deceptions are nothing but illusions, and illusions are composed of something that's not real. But God is real. Jesus is real. Give him your heart. Say, Lord, come into my heart right now. Be my Savior. I want you to live in me because you are reality, the only reality, and I want to know that reality. Come into my heart. I'm sorry for my sins. Be my King and Master. Say that. Be my King and Lord. Jesus, set me free with your blood. The precious, vibrating blood. The blood that cleanses. The blood that is the road directly into the kingdom of God. The hands that were pierced. The feet that were pierced. All done for us. Receive it today, I pray. Receive him. He loves you.
Hallelujah. 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 My soul cries out for you, my King. My soul cries out for you. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Crystalline staircase, waiting for us to climb, and we will be by your side. Oh Lord Most High, oh Lord Most High. Hallelujah. 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 My soul cries out for you, my King. My soul cries out for you. Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
That a master scientist, he was awarded conferred rather a doctorate of science, and we'll get into some of the reasons why that was, but he was not formally educated past 4th grade. Despite all of this, he went on to excel in every single endeavor that he wished to embark upon, which is truly inspiring and amazing. He was an artist turned a scientist. He was the creator of the Russell cosmogony. Cosmogony meaning basically the concept of the construction and birth of our universe, as opposed to a cosmology, which is dealing with sort of studying what's already there. He was one of the only men in modern history who has been enabled to vision both the visible and the invisible universes as one consistent whole, and thus know the Creator's purposes, processes, and methods of producing his universal body without being deceived by the illusions of matter and motion which have led observers throughout the ages into forming wrong conclusions. This is why we should pay attention to what he has to say. We need to understand cosmic illumination. There's a graphic on the left there that's not there, but that's okay. Cosmic illumination was an event that transpired in Walter's life, beginning from an early age, but it culminated in 1921 in a 39-day extended period. It's difficult for us to comprehend this experience because it's so infrequent. This only happens to a few people, a handful of people in recorded history. But despite the rarity of the event, it's probably one of the most profound spiritual and divine experiences that can happen to a person. And it happened to Walter, who was a master artist. And this was for a very specific reason. In his own words, he was taken behind the scenes by God to be shown how exactly the universe comes into existence. And the purpose for this was because he had the skills to actually put this down into paintings and written form in order to surmount an impossible task of trying to explain to people how it is that mind creates matter. One thing I want to point out here about this experience, if you notice that the human being is bilateral, meaning we have an axis of symmetry that cuts us directly down this midline, as drawn by this dotted line here. And exactly in line with this line is the pineal gland, the very center of the brain. Walter described that this experience began with a flash in the pineal gland, at which point the hemispheres of his brain were short-circuited together. He was no longer subjected to the illusion of reality, which is that we see everything as duality, simply because we have 2 eyes, 2 nostrils, 2 ears, 2 limbs, 2 legs, etc. The significance of this is that if we can, for a moment, forget the axiom in modern physics that we have 4 fundamental forces, if you just say, well, let's just assume for a moment that we have one force. If we have a duality of senses, then we will always interpret one force as 2. And Walter, during his experience, was no longer subjected to the duality. He could actually see the knowing cause as opposed to the dynamic thinking process, which is what we experience when we're awake. So the limitation of senses were gone during this period. And that's how he was given all of his knowledge of chemistry and physics. He had no knowledge of any of this until the end of that 39-day experience, in which case he possessed knowledge that was far greater than any other physicist, chemist, what have you, of his time. So he believed very much so that every man has unlimited power to do what he desires to do, and that whatever he does, he should excel in it. And this, of course, is part of the inspiration of his work. So why should we pay attention to what he said? Well, for one thing, when I first read his book, I was unaware of the existence of any other periodic table of elements other than Mendeleev's chart. I saw this spiral chart for the first time, and I knew immediately it was correct and that the old one was incorrect, because there's more information encoded in this chart than the Mendeleev chart contains. What's fascinating is that he says that hydrogen, which is the #1 element in the Mendeleev chart, is actually the 18th element. And so in lecturing to scientists of that time, he basically told them, hey, if you poke around with hydrogen, you'll probably find other elements. And they did, except they called them isotopes. They named them deuterium and tritium, which were obviously not the names that he gave them. So he did not receive credit for this, nor did he receive credit for the discovery of plutonium and neptunium, which are located here in the 9th octave. What's fascinating about this is he's actually giving you two different views of the exact same chart, meaning in one sense you can look down on it like looking down through water going down a drain, seeing the spiral vortex, or you can look at it from the side, in which case the vortex appears to be a cone. Two different ways of looking at the same one thing. So that got my attention. I said, okay, if this man had enough knowledge to predict elements before they were discovered, obviously his knowledge exceeds that of theoretical chemistry. He was urged by a physicist of the time, H.H. Sheldon, who I believe was at Princeton, to, he was saying, Walter, if you can see the invisible, see the things which are unseen, that physicists cannot see, go ahead and paint it so that we can have a glimpse. And he produced this painting right here called The Wave. What's important about this is that when matter is emerging from this plane, it is projected, just like when you project an image through a two-dimensional negative to make a positive. Even this phenomenon is occurring right now from that projector in the rear. We're projecting a negative image onto a flat screen, and now all of a sudden we have dimension, we have size. If this process occurs in 3 dimensions, then we get something very similar to reality, which begs the question, what is reality if not a 3-dimensional simulation of a 2-dimensional plane? So he drew this and also shows that this is how color comes into existence, by dividing one white light, or colorless light, or sexless light, into male and female pairs. So what does color have to do with being male and female? Everything. It has everything to do with it. This image on the right shows the wave geometry, which is the secret of creation. As he's saying, the secret of creation lies within the wave. This is literally true.